don't know how to explain it to someone who hasn't been through it. It's not some beautiful, transcendent moment where you suddenly become enlightened and float through life in a state of bliss. It's not a gentle unfolding. It's a collapse, a brutal, merciless stripping away of everything you thought you were. One day you wake up and the world feels wrong. Not in an obvious way, not like some great tragedy just struck. It's quieter than that, more insidious. The things you used to love feel distant, like echoes of a life that doesn't belong to you anymore. Your dreams, your ambitions, the stories you told yourself about who you were, gone. And in their place, nothing. At first you think it's just a phase. Maybe you're burned out. Maybe you need a new goal, a new passion, something to reignite the fire. But no matter what you reach for, your hands come up empty. The things that used to give you joy feel meaningless. Conversations feel hollow. You stop relating to people. You drift further and further into yourself, trying to make sense of what's happening, but there's no clear answer. Just silence. I tried to fight it. I tried to force myself to care, to feel something, to be the person I was before, but the harder I fought, the worse it got. That's when the fear set in. Not the kind of fear that comes from an external threat, but the deep, gnawing dread of realizing that you don't know who you are anymore. That the person you thought you were was nothing more than a construct, something built on conditioning, on expectations, on attachments that have now crumbled to dust. No one tells you that spiritual awakening feels like dying, but it does. It's the death of identity, the slow, suffocating unraveling of everything familiar. And the worst part? You're alone in it, because no one understands. You try to explain what you're going through, but the words don't come out right. And even if they did, how do you make someone understand what it feels like to lose your sense of self? How do you explain that you're grieving something intangible, something invisible, grieving the death of the person you used to be? So you withdraw. You disappear into yourself. You stop reaching out because you're tired of pretending to be okay, tired of forcing yourself into conversations that feel forced and empty. The world keeps moving, but you stay still, locked in a space between what was and what will be, unsure if you'll ever come back. And maybe, deep down, you're not even sure you want to. But then something shifts. Not all at once. There's no grand revelation, no sudden moment where everything makes sense again. It's subtle, a slow return, a quiet pulse of life stirring beneath the wreckage. At some point you realize that you've stopped fighting, that you've let go of the need to make sense of everything, that you've surrendered to the void instead of clawing your way out of it. And in that surrender, something begins to grow. Not the old fire, not the desperate hunger to achieve or become, but something quieter, something real. You start noticing things again. The way the light filters through the trees, the sound of the wind against your skin, the simple pleasure of breathing, of existing. And for the first time in what feels like forever, you feel, maybe not joy, but something close, a presence, a stillness, a quiet knowing that life isn't about what you thought it was, that maybe you don't need a purpose, maybe you don't need to chase meaning, maybe life itself is enough. That's when I thought I was finally ready to return. After what felt like years in exile, I started feeling normal again. Not the same as before, never the same, but stable. I could function. I could move through the world without feeling like a ghost, without questioning the fabric of my own existence. And just when I thought I had made it through the hardest part, something else happened, something I never expected. The next storm. I didn't know what was coming. I thought I had made it through the worst of it. The collapse, the emptiness, the months of drifting through existence without an identity, without meaning. I thought I was stabilizing, finding my footing again. And then, one night, something unleashed inside me. It was subtle at first, a small tremor, a shift beneath my skin. But within moments, it became something else entirely. A surge, a flood, a fire igniting deep in the base of my spine and raging upward like an unstoppable current. I couldn't breathe. It was like every nerve in my body had been plugged into an electrical storm, like some invisible force had cracked open my bones and poured molten energy into my very marrow. My back arched involuntarily, my hands clenched into fists. A deep, primal force within me roared awake, and then it began. A relentless, ceaseless flow. A river of energy, tingling, twisting, coiling its way up my spine. Relentless, unyielding. It was alive. It had intelligence. It moved through me like it had always been waiting. Like it had finally found the crack in the dam and would never stop again. I wanted to control it, but I couldn't. At first, it was exhilarating, this raw, untamed power coursing through me like a serpent made of light. But exhilaration turned to terror when I realized something. It never stopped. Day after day, night after night, the current kept moving. Up my back, through my neck, sometimes getting stuck, lodging itself in strange places, pulsing, writhing, demanding attention. My body felt like a battlefield, an unseen force ripping through me, burning away everything impure. And it hurt. This wasn't the gentle flow of peace or enlightenment. This was purification by fire. The years of tension, of trauma, of misaligned energy pathways, everything I had ever done to my body, every poor habit, every indulgence, every ounce of stagnation, I felt it all being torn apart. The weight training I had obsessed over for years, it had hardened me, twisted my body into a structure meant for force, not flow. Kundalini had no patience for that. My body had to be remade, reshaped, not into something weaker, but something open, something that could channel the current instead of resisting it. I lost over 20 pounds. I twisted and stretched myself into positions I didn't think were possible. Yoga wasn't just a practice anymore, it was survival. Each pose, each stretch, each breath was a battle between me and this thing inside me. I dove deep into yoga namaskar and akashic yoga, not because I wanted to, but because I had no choice. These weren't just movements. They were the only way to allow the energy to move without tearing me apart. And still, it wasn't enough. The energy wouldn't let me rest. It demanded more. So I read and I devoured books, stacks of them. My house turned into a temple of knowledge, every surface buried beneath ancient wisdom, esoteric texts, teachings from masters long before me. My third eye, or whatever force was pushing me, wouldn't let me stop. I read for 2 years straight like my very survival depended on it. And maybe it did. Because when this awakening comes, when it truly erupts, it is not gentle. It is not soft. It is a storm. For a while, I thought I was losing my mind. I started hearing voices, seeing things, shadows moving when nothing was there, whispers in the dead of night, spirits, entities, things I couldn't explain. The veil between worlds had been ripped open, and I was standing on the edge of something vast, something incomprehensible. I understood why some people go mad from this. Reality itself had become unstable. I would wake up at night and feel disembodied, floating somewhere between here and somewhere else. My sense of time began to blur. My thoughts weren't always my own. There were moments where I swore I was speaking, but I wasn't the one choosing the words. And yet, through all of this, I began to understand something. Something massive. This energy, Kundalini, wasn't here to destroy me. It was here to remake me, and the only way to survive it was to create. I had spent years chasing knowledge, restructuring my body, trying to find balance. But the final, ultimate lesson was this: energy must be expressed, not suppressed, not controlled. Expressed. And so I began to write. I had never considered myself a writer. But once I let the energy flow into creation, something shifted. Words poured out of me. Stories, insights, entire worlds forming beneath my fingertips. The more I wrote, the more stable I became. The more I allowed this force to speak through me, the more I understood what it was trying to teach me. It wasn't just about transcendence, it was about alchemy. Taking the raw, chaotic, uncontainable fire and forging it into something real, something tangible, something that could be given back to the world. Within a year, I had written and published over 10 books. Now I am nearly finished with a spiritual ascension book nearing 1,000 pages and another dark fantasy epic that has already surpassed it. And I know now without a doubt that this was the path I was meant to walk. But I won't lie to you. This journey is not for the faint of heart. It will break you. It will destroy the person you were before. It will drag you through the abyss, make you question your sanity, your reality, everything you've ever known. But if you endure, if you learn to flow with it instead of against it, you will emerge as something unrecognizable, something greater. If you are on this path, if you are experiencing the fire of awakening, hear me now, you are not alone. Find a teacher, find a guide, find a way to create, because creativity is the only true release. And when it all feels unbearable, when the storm inside you threatens to rip you apart, remember this: you are being transformed, not broken, not punished, transformed. Stay strong. And if you ever need guidance, reach out. This is not meant to be walked alone.